Uh, I don't know if you guys know, but Robert meets with all of the productivity coaches every week. And what we're doing is helping each other get better. Okay. And Robert and Mignon have been kind enough to teach a class for the Georgia Legacy Group each week. And I have now been asked to do so. And the topic that I came up with is systems. I'm not married to that topic necessarily. We can certainly switch it up if the the people that come most often wish to talk about something different. But this is really for you guys. I want to make sure that whatever system you had in mind that you were just hoping we would talk about today, maybe you can vocalize, and that will be the one we focus on. But what I'd like to do is just take a quick moment and give you just a little bit of kind of theory about how you should be thinking about systems, okay? Essentially, everything that you do more than once should have a system. And a system, by the way, could be as simple as when I get off the phone, I scribble the person's name down, and then I do this, and then I do that. That may be an entire system, right? A system could be, I have 10, blank note cards on a corner of my desk that are put there Monday morning, and by the time I leave Friday, they're gone, meaning I've mailed out 10 handwritten notes, and that's a system, that's a habit, and that's a really contributes to the growth of my business, right? So I'll give you a handful of systems now, and then I'll have a kind of a running list of systems that we as a group want to talk about, and we'll kind of go through them one by one. And hopefully this is a class that gives everyone some great ideas, and at the end of the day saves you time and money. Fair? Okay, Justin, are you still here? What is the system that you would like to, or let me ask you differently. Can you just tell everyone who you are and what office you're out of and what you're hoping to learn today?
Yeah, sorry, you're talking to me?
I am.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I'm out of the Roswell office and was an ISA, and we'll be getting back into production here this week. So I just wanting to build those systems to start making it much more productive than it was a year or two ago when I was in production.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Okay, I'm going to come up with a list with you guys on systems that you'd like to cover, and then maybe the most outspoken person that participates the most today can be the can choose a system or two, and we'll go through that stuff in detail. By the way, this is being recorded, so I will share it with the PC coaches, and it can get back to you if you desire. Okay. Okay, systems. I would have a system for buyers. I would have a system for sellers. I would have a system for open houses. I would have a system for landlord and tenants if you do that, if you would do that work or you're willing to do that work, right? I would have a time system. A system is basically for your time would be, how do you handle requests of your time? I know that sounds like super basic, but literally today I have had 3 conversations with people who were reluctant to commit to a particular appointment time because they were essentially worried that something else might come up, right? And then they'd have to no show or cancel or change something. Hang on just 1 second for me. Okay, sorry about that. What that tells me is that agent doesn't have a system for her time, because and she lacks some skill on how to make recommendations for when you're willing to offer your time and do it in a powerful, kind way so that the listener agrees to work with you at your specific time, right? So time is the most important thing we got, you guys. And so as we're going through this, we'll probably be able to recognize what are the things that tend to deserve our time and what are the distractions. For those that were at Mega Camp, we heard a great line that said your performance is equal to your potential minus distractions, right? So I love how simple and clear that is, right? So if you are not reaching your potential currently, it is for one reason only: you are distracted, right? And so we have to clear the deck and try to figure out how can we live this idea of God, family, business, right? How do we make sure that we earn the income that our family desires, while at the same time respecting boundaries of everyone that you're in relationship with? Make sense? Okay, sorry, I got on a little diatribe there. We should also have a financial system. Okay. As we start having some transactions, you want to make sure that you are monitoring the amount of money that comes in, monitor the money, how you spend money, and if you have some kind of thresholds for how much you can spend. Have you built a family budget? Have you built a business budget? Are you an LLC? Have you hired a CPA? Right? Where do you track everything? Do you do it on QuickBooks? Do you have a shoebox? Do you have a spreadsheet? How frequently do you update it? How do you deal with variances? Like all of these kind of things, because today, we don't necessarily, there's a couple people I don't know quite how large your production is, but at the beginning, it's like, oh, here's $60 for a sign, here's $20 for some office paper or whatever. And you don't think about it so much. But once we start building a business where you actually have to write some paychecks, right? And there is bills coming every month, and you start to bring people into your life that you have to pay, you need to be much tighter on the money system, right? We also have the benefit of having MREA, which tells us best practices on how much we should be spending on a variety of things, right? Everything from coaching and training to technology to lead gen to salaries, etc. And of course, cost of sale. So we have all of those resources. You can ask me or ask your specific coach, and we can get that stuff to you. What are some other systems that you guys that come to mind?
Like a system for sellers or buyers.
Yep. So I said that at the beginning. I don't know if you heard me. Yeah. One other one I just thought of is a social media system. So we can touch on that at some point, either today or later. What else? What do systems mean to you? What I mean,
like a lead gen too.
Yep. Very good. Okay. I mean, I probably need to work on my marketing a bit, but you guys came to a class that's called Building Systems at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, there must have been something that was driving that decision. Right? What else? Okay, why don't we start with these? Who wants to speak the loudest and offer one that we should talk about first? And we'll kind of go through it bit by bit.
Prospecting.
Prospecting, okay, so lead gen. Any other votes? Okay.
That sounds good.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we're going to talk about lead generation. So the first place my mind goes when we're talking about a lead generation system is we have to know a couple of things about the goals of our business, right? So the first thing we need to know is, how do we know if we have enough leads, right? How do we know how many leads we need either that you would earn through prospecting, or that you would earn through marketing, or that you already have in your database, right? So how many leads do we even need? And how do we know we're winning, right? How do we know that we've done what we need to do for the day or for the week or for the month, and it's time to go be a not realtor? Does it make sense? If you don't know what that number is, then what ends up happening is, if you're at work, you're worried about the fact that you want to be somewhere else. And if you're somewhere else, you're worried about the fact that you may or may not be behind in your goals. Does that make sense? So if we clearly know what we're after, it makes everything different, because then you can just focus on that. And when you're done, you can go do whatever you feel like doing, either more work or do something different, right? Be with your family, take a vacation, etc. Make sense? Okay, so the first thing, what I would lead into from the lead generation model is, what is the result of the economic model? Okay, so in the MREA, they talk about economic model, lead gen model, budget model, organizational model. That's another model we should probably put on the list, is organizational, right? Today, if you filled out a an organizational chart of the Ryan Kennedy real estate organization, you would find yourself in a lot of those bubbles, wouldn't you? Right? And so you are the president of social media. You are the president of marketing, right? You are the director of bookkeeping, right? You are the sign installer. You do everything, right? And you do it, and ultimately until you can leverage some of those pieces of your business to other people that desire that opportunity, right? So the very first thing we want to talk about is, what is the result of the economic model? The result of the economic model should really be, let's keep it super simple, is how many appointments do you need every year? Okay, how many appointments do we need to get every year? Okay, so we have done some estimates based on conversion rates and based on average sales prices and let's see, income goals and all these kind of things, contacts to appointments held, all those factors. And if you want to net $100,000, then our advice is you need 32 appointments all year. Okay, so in a rolling 12-month period, you need 32 appointments. So you can do them all early, you can spread them out throughout the year, whatever it may be. Okay, so let's just assume, is that a good goal, or should we up it or lower it? What do you guys think?
Sounds good.
Okay, cool. If you have a different number in mind, let's say you want to make 150 or 250 or 400 or whatever it is, we have some spreadsheets that can very simply calculate that for you, and you'll know exactly what we need to start the lead generation model with. Okay, so particularly new agents, which I believe everyone is more or less the solo agents. What we want to do is think of 3 pillars of your business. Okay, so where are all these appointments going to come from? Right, so you could go and look in the lead generation segment of MREA that will list out all the ways that people can find business. I'll rattle off a bunch of them right now. Right, expired, for sale by owners, withdrawn listings, door knocking, hosting open houses, doing business to business, interactions like soliciting business owners for relationships so that you guys can help each other as you're building your business, working with real estate related home vendors, pay-per-click, buying leads, Facebook ads, Instagram leads. Obviously, we talked about cold calls, your social media, right? Whatever social media functions that you might do, or what people can come to expect from you on social media, that might create some opportunities. It could be friends and family, people that are coming from your database. It could be probate. You could have relationships with people like divorce attorneys and financial planners and CPAs and insurance agents and these kind of things. So we can go in a lot of different directions on where the people are. The cool part about this business is that basically every single person you see is a prospect, right? They either own a home, which we know how to help them, or they don't own a home. And obviously we can help those people too, right? So everyone you see is somebody that ultimately, if you can have a nice conversation with them and you enjoyed kind of being in their presence, then it's somebody you should add to the database and communicate with systematically over time, so that the next time they have a question about real estate, they call you. Make sense? Before they go on to like Redfin or Zillow or all that, right? So I was able to train a lot of my people to basically say, hey, I don't make real estate decisions without talking to Bill first. I just don't, right? So you're asking me to make a real estate decision. I committed to speaking to my agent, Bill, before I did any of that kind of thing. So I'm going to go call him. Thanks for reminding me. Does it make sense? Okay, so what I want you to think about is, what are the 3 primary ways that you want to generate leads? Okay, and they're not set in stone. You could pick for sale by owners and then try them for a couple weeks and say, this isn't for me. I get it. Okay, but what are the 3 we want to start with? Because if you go and you try to experiment with everything I just named, right, you're going to end up being mediocre at all of them. Maybe at best. Okay, so I'm going to encourage everyone to pick 3. Okay, so this is essentially the basic plan of a GPS. Goals, priorities, strategies, right? We've also Keller Williams in the past has called that a 1-3-5. So it's one goal. In this scenario, the goal is, well, we need 32 appointments. The priorities are, what are the 3 lead generation strategies my business will execute on in route to that 32 appointments? And then the 5 is 5 strategies for each of those priorities. So that's like getting in the weeds a little with it, right? So that could be like, I will post this thing on Monday, this thing on Tuesday. I will set X number of appointments with for sale by owners every week, like that kind of stuff. So it's real broad with the goal, 32 appointments. Oftentimes people use that as that's where they would put their income goal. The 3 priorities are the 3 legs essentially that your business will be supported with. And then the 5 strategies. Make sense? Okay. The next thing that we have to do.
Sorry, Bill, just to recap real quick. The goal is to make 100. We need 32 appointments. We should pick 3 different spokes, lead strategies, whatever you want to call it, cogs to the wheel. And each one of those get their own 5 things that we commit to in that 3 lead generation framework.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. There's one other thing I'm going to give you one more kind of concept, or one more metric that you guys should be following. Give me 2 seconds. I just want to make sure I say it correctly. By the way, this is a plan that we have referred to as the 4-3-2-1 plan. Okay, I know it's cheesy. If you have a better idea for what to call it, I welcome that. Okay. Now, so what we have done is we're going to sell 12 homes per year at the typical average sales price, which is about $350. Actually, that's a little on the low side. And with respect to that, we are going to go on 32 appointments. But quite frankly, the more important number is how many you take, right? Because if you go on 32, but you don't convert at a an average ratio, then this all could go sideways. So of the 32 that you sit down with, 20 of them you will agree to work with. Just as a sidebar, I said that intentionally the way I said it, right? You will agree to work with them. Not every person that presents themselves as an opportunity is in fact an opportunity. right? If you don't like your current client because they don't listen, they're not cooperative, they're a bigot, you know, any of that kind of thing, you could better go find somebody else to replace them with. Make sense? Okay. Okay, so not only are we focused on attending 32 appointments, but we're focused on 20 of those people agreeing to work with us. Make sense? Okay, I'll give you an example of a how that might function out. Let's say I want to do open houses. So open houses are going to be one of the pillars of my business. Okay, so I might say, here are some of the ideas that you could use for strategies. Okay, now here is the litmus test for, is this a good strategy? There's going to be a mixture of things that you're going to need to do. One of them is going to be metric based. So that would be like, I will host 4 open houses a month. 3 of them will be on a Sunday and 1 will be on a Thursday night. Okay, something like that. And it's black and white. Either you did it or you did not do it. If you did not do it, you may not come up with this number of appointments. So we got to go back to the plan and make sure you can run the plan officially or efficiently. Okay. The other thing is going to be deadlines. Okay, which is project-based things. So for example, when we build out the buyer system or the seller system, we might need to build out a pre-listing package or a buyer guide or a seller's guide or an investor's guide or something like that, where number one, we can use as kind of a carrot to get appointments or to get attention, right? Or maybe even to get contact information from people, right? Hey, oh, I don't want to sign in at the open house. Well, we have a great buyer's guide with a vendor list, and they offer some discounts to customers of mine. So if you fill out your information here, then I can get you on the list to receive that. Would that be okay? Right. So sometimes if you lack somebody's contact information or part of their contact information, one of 2 things needs to happen. You probably need to create more value so that they gladly hand over their information, but you may have to barter for it. Like, you give me your email and I'll give you this buyer packet. You see what I'm saying? Make sense? Okay, so here's a couple of strategies that we could use for the open house, for example. Okay, let's say the first, and there's a bunch of different options here. Okay, let's say the first is we need a pre-open house system. Okay, so that would include things like, what do I do on, when do I pick the open house? Right? How do I, if I don't have a listing, how do I go find one? Do I post on Roswell's Facebook group or GLG's Facebook group, or, you know, some other avenue? Do I call some of the realtors that live, or I'm sorry, that work out of the office that tend to have listings, some of the teams and that kind of thing, right? How do I even find the open houses? Or how do I find the people that are offering them, right? What day do I choose it, right? So for example, if you kind of do like a lazy version of hosting an open house, you'll get lazy results. Meaning if you're like, oh, Sunday just opened up on Saturday night, like, I guess I'll, you know, go buy a couple balloons and put a sign or 2 out, and then 3 people come to the open house and you say, well, open houses aren't for me. You didn't even do an open house barely, right? This could be an event. This could, the amount of energy and the largeness of how you make this event will be reciprocated by who attends and how cooperative they are on sharing their information with you. Does that make sense? Okay, so the pre-open house strategy. So what do I do on Monday prior to the open house? What do I do on Tuesday prior to the open house? What do I do on Wednesday prior to the open house? So one of those might be like, I put in FMLS. The next one might be I door knock the neighborhood and with some flyers about the open house, or I call the neighbors and say, hey, we're going to be hosting an open house. Wanted to invite the neighbors from 12 to 1. The regular open house will be from 1 to 3. So if you want to stop by and see what the Smiths did in their master bathroom, love to have you. All right, we're going to have some coffee and some donuts. It'll be a blast. Make sense? So when do you post it on Facebook? Do you do some type of ad? How many days does that run for? How much does it cost? All these kind of things. So I know I'm getting in the weeds, but that's what systems are, right? Ultimately, systems, you think about it as like an operations manual for little segments of your business, right? So at some point in the future, let's say, Ryan, when you're hiring your next agent partner and they say, well, how does the Ryan Kennedy team do open houses? And you're like, this is how they do open houses. That's the system. Here's what you do Monday, here's what you do Tuesday, here's what you do Wednesday, etc. Does that make sense? So we're basically building out the operations manual for our business. By the way, you're the director of that too. You see what I'm saying? Okay, we'll have a little fun here. Another thing is, what do you do at the open house? So that could be things like, how do I, how many signs do I put up? What place do I buy the balloons from? You know, how many balloons do I buy? Are they red and white or red and black or something else, right? Do I have all the appropriate signage, right? When do I put out the signs? Do I know the ordinances in Fulton County versus DeKalb County versus Gwinnett County versus Cobb County, right? So do I know where I might be getting myself into trouble and where I know I'm cool, right? What happens at the door, right? Do I have, like I was talking to somebody the other day that said like they typically get 30 people at an open house. I don't want to be by myself when 30 families are coming through, right? So do you have an open house buddy? If so, how are those leads going to get split up, right? So everything is about setting expectations and being prepared, right? So in light of COVID, do you have any COVID related policies? Do people have to wear a mask? Do you only let one family in at a time? Or do you have a sanitation station, right? How do you deal with the sign-ins? Do you do it on an iPad? Do you do it on a sheet of paper? Do you ask them to sign in on their way in or on their way out? Do you follow them around or do you kind of hang in one room? So I know I'm getting really in the weeds here, but you got to understand you're a business owner and you need to think through this stuff. Does that make sense? Does that resonate with everyone? Lakira, are you with me?
That makes sense. I'm not like here, but it makes sense.
Okay, perfect. The next thing, the next topic, you with me? Does all this make sense? All right, we'll come back. Then you might want to think about what is the after the open house strategy or system. So maybe on my way out, I do a video text to everyone that showed up. And that night I put a handwritten note in the mail for everyone that attended so that they get it on Monday or Tuesday, right? And do I put a business card in? Do I not put a business card in? Probably I would. And do I have all the cards? Do I have all the stamps? Right? So it's just like you setting yourself up and preparing so that you don't like go to the post office at like 11 o'clock once Legion is done on a Monday and you sit in line for 2 hours getting stamps. That what a waste of a day. You see what I'm saying? So how can you kind of really flush out all that's needed and then go do it in a very efficient way, right? So when do you call the person? How often do you call the person? Do you send them an email or do you send them a text? How often do you do that? Are they on any type of touch plan, right? Where do you put the information? So do they go into a smart plan because they showed up at an open house, right? Is there anything that you tag them with specific that you know when you met them or how you met them or where you met them, right? So do you have any type of, what's your follow-up system? Does all that make sense? So those are all systems. And so if it is a system or a project, then it should have a deadline. So you would say, I will have my pre-open house strategy in place by Friday. I will have my day of open house strategy in place by Tuesday, and I will have my post-open house strategy in place by the following Thursday. So the following Thursday, man, I'm going to know everything there is to know about open houses, and I'm going to be wildly prepared. Make sense? Then you can actually go out and do them. Okay, and so the other one, remember, was we're going to do X number of them per week or X number of them per month. And that way it's a litmus test for either you did it or you did not do it. Okay, it's black and white. Okay. Remember, some of you have heard me say this 100 times, and some of you might hear it for the first time today. But when you identify the fact that you are behind in your goals, you basically got two choices. You can either change your activities so you finish strong and you stay on track, or you can change the goal, right? So it's kind of like saying, well, I want to lose 20 pounds before the end of the year. If December 1st rolls around and I weigh exactly what I weighed today, I can either say, well, 3 pounds will be okay. Or I can say, well, I guess I'm waking up at 5 in the morning to go do whatever I got to do and get on some crazy diet so I can lose 20 pounds in a month, because you made a commitment that that was going to happen. Does that make sense? Okay. And then you might say to yourself, well, I don't have any of the supplies I need. Like, I don't have the booties and the gloves and the table, and maybe I need an iPad. Maybe I need some open house signs. Maybe I need some sign-in pads or pens or whatever. So I need to buy a bunch of open house supplies or figure out who I can borrow them from or something. That's a project, so it needs a deadline, right? So I will do all that stuff by Tuesday. And then you better put it into your calendar so that it has a slot in your calendar, and then you just have to follow your calendar. Okay, so there's a bold rule that says we don't sell, what is it? We don't sell real estate, you just follow your calendar. Forgetting the law, which is not common for me. Any questions so far? Okay, so my recommendation would be, let's figure out which strategies we want to use, and don't tell me after one day of calling expired's not for you. Okay, you got to give it some time. Okay, we're all going to have bad days, so give it your all. Don't call FSBOs one day and quit. Don't go door knocking one afternoon and then quit. Give it. Once we identify the three pillars that our business is going to find its leads from, then you build out the plan that we just talked about, and then you basically have to make sure that all of that activity finds its way into your calendar. So this kind of merges a little bit with the time system, right? So what I mean by that is, let's say every Tuesday I'm going to go door knock for the home I'm going to be doing open on Sunday. So when's that going to happen, right? Does that happen from 9 to 11? Does that happen from 4 to 5? Does that happen from 2 to 3? Right? When does it happen? Because don't tell me you're going to do it on Tuesday and then make no recording of an effort to make sure it happens, right? Put it on a to-do list, or set a reminder in your calendar, or put it in your calendar, or call a friend and get a commitment that they'll come with you, and you can hold each other accountable to making sure that happens. Does that make sense? So everything that you have to do consistently needs a slot on the calendar. And until you finish all these projects, you probably need project time on your calendar, right? Which could be, I don't know, it could be 20 minutes a day, it could be 2 hours a day, it makes no difference, right? It could be during the business day, it could be late at night, it could be on the weekends. It doesn't make a difference. You're in charge of these systems, and the longer it takes for you to build it and get serious about it, the longer it's going to take before you feel like you've hit your groove, right? Okay, so once we do that, we need to say to ourselves, let me just touch on time for just a moment, and then we'll come back to lead gen. Everyone has their own way of kind of earmarking their time, and a different way of commitments with respect to their time. So I basically have two systems. If it is a day sensitive requirement or task, it goes in this calendar right here, paper calendar, and it basically ends up being the place where all my ideas go. If I've got an idea, and I want to remind myself about it, or I hear a quote, or I think of a concept I want to talk to the group about, or I reminded myself about something that somebody and I talked about on the telephone. That's basically where it goes. Okay, so it's either here or it's in my WhatsApp chat with my assistant, right? That's where all my ideas go. It's also where my to-do list goes. So let's say I say, hey, Ryan, I'm gonna call you on Wednesday and just check in on you, okay? And we don't set a time, that means it's not technically an appointment, right? So it's just a task that has to get done that day. It goes in this daily paper planner. If it is an appointment, whether an appointment with a prospect or a client, or an appointment with yourself, a good example of that would be, when are you going to lead gen each day? Or when are you going to go door knock? Or when are you going to go make the flyer? Or when are you going to go buy your supplies or whatever, right? And also, of course, your non-real estate commitments should be on the calendar too, right? Family dinner, pick up the kid from school, go to yoga, go to church, go to Bible study, have dinner with my friend, whatever. You see what I'm saying? We're not supposed to fit in all that stuff when we weren't able to book a business appointment. It's actually supposed to be the exact opposite, right? You put in all your non-real estate commitments, and then you find a way to make the income that you want to make by working in the gaps of all that stuff. That's a big idea there, right? We tend to, as real estate agents, we want to be wanted, right? And when somebody wants to spend time with us, we're like, oh, great. Okay, I need to cancel all those appointments. No, if you need to go on those appointments, you just need to suggest a different day or time, perhaps, to meet with that person. You are in control of your calendar. Okay. So if it is a day and time commitment, a true appointment, it goes in Google Drive, or not Google Drive, I'm sorry, Google Calendar. And that syncs with my cell phone and my tablet, so I can, see what appointments I've committed to. Okay. And when the calendar's empty, right, when I have a gap or something like that, then I can tend to my day tasks. Okay. So now that we've taken it from the I need X number of appointments to where are these appointments coming from, to what activities do I need to do consistently, to getting it onto the calendar, we have to follow the calendar. Hopefully that goes without saying. But the next huge task is the accountability that you put around this, right? And at the end of the day, I'll read you a quote from a Mega Camp video that I re-listened to this morning. It says, by the way, I know you didn't go to every single Mega Camp class. It wasn't possible, right? So if you missed classes where you chose one class over another, but you really want to go back and watch that other video, it ain't going to happen unless you put it in your calendar. So maybe you should have it 30 minutes each day to go watch a video so you can keep that energy and that information fresh. Okay, I heard a great quote today. It says, success comes to those who are obsessed about being consistent. Okay, it's all in consistency. You will live and die by how consistent you are, right? There's another quote that we heard a lot this week that said, we do not decide our futures. Did you guys hear this one? We do not decide our futures, we decide our habits, and our habits decide our futures. So if I were to follow you around all day, would I think you're a real estate agent? Do you have the habit of regeneration every day? Or do you have the habit of not lead generating every day, right? Do you have the habit of snoozing 5 times? Or do you have the habit of getting out of bed right away? Do you have the habit of reading? Or the habit of not reading? You see what I'm saying? And every little micro decision that you make on this journey will put you on track to an incredible career, or will cause you a lot more pain, right? there was another quote. There's been so much good stuff from Mega Camp this last week, where they said, you just basically got to, life is hard. You're just gonna have to choose your hard. Do you want hard to be defined by, having a lot of clients and a lot of files to tend to, and going from here to there, and having, a bunch of things going on, and having to control all the chaos, and having assistants and people that can help you? Is that hard? Or would you prefer the hard of, I don't have any prospects, and I don't know when the next time I'm going to get paid is, and I'm worried about this, and I'm stressed about this, and I don't have enough money for that? You see what I'm saying? So that's hard too. You just got to choose your hard. That's a big one too. What are you guys hearing so far?
Well, as you're talking, I'm just writing down all the costs it takes to market a property, and so got to budget it, got to make a system, got to have a plan for it.
That's right, because they say that if you want to sell something, if you want a great career in sales, you just need to make something that realtors buy, because they'll buy anything. Oh, you sell one of these in your whole career and it'll pay for itself, right? Okay, that's $50 a month. Sell one of these in your whole career, it'll pay for itself. There's another $50 a month. Before you know it, you got $20, $50 a month things, and you can't afford any of it, and you don't use any of it. You see what I'm saying?
Oh,
so
absolutely.
we lead with revenue, right? We have to justify every business expense with an expected return on investment. And we learn about the return on investment from people who have already made the investment.
I mean, as far as like systems go that you're talking about like life is hard. You just got to choose your hard. Well, I would like a system in place that people always want to do an open house that I have. And I don't care if I have to pay them to do it. I don't care if I have to run Facebook ads to do it. I don't care if I pay for water bottles and print materials. I want people to do that part of the business for me so that I can be with my family, because there's other parts I'd rather focus on. So I understand that that may not be cost effective in the beginning, but that's a system. I want to get towards it. I want to work towards it. Life's hard. Maybe I don't have that. It looks like it'd be $300. Maybe I don't have that $300 times 5 open houses.
And I'm not sure I heard your comment correctly. Were you saying that you basically want to go create a bunch of open houses and then you just want to make sure they're all hosted?
No, I want to go convert a bunch of for sale by owners, but I don't want to hold the open houses.
So you just need to basically create an open house in a box system and a list of people who want that opportunity. And then every Monday morning you say, okay, these are the 6 open houses we got. Sign up. First come, first serve. You already know how to do it because you read the instruction manual. If you don't want to read the instruction manual, you can't do it because you're not listening.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I just want a system in place where that's, you can do it your way, but here's the basics of what we need done. And if you can't do it, then we'll find someone else and we'll make it worth your time to go do it.
A lot of that's already built, right? We have those resources at KW. The primary thing I think you probably need is just a list of real estate agents that are looking to build their business through open houses and don't have the listings, which quite frankly, the productivity coaching group is full of them.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely. But I want to make sure people actually show up
and say, hey, I'm going to do this. Say that last part again.
I want to make sure people show up to the open house. So there's ways to drive traffic to the open house. I want to make sure that the people that hold the open house always want to hold the open house.
Yeah. And you have backup for when they have, some event on Saturday or Sunday that they want to attend, and they've chosen, something else over that opportunity, which is perfectly fine. But you want to have a long list of people, right? And then you have a system of, we're going to send out the invites on Monday. Everyone's going to sign up. You're going to call everyone on Tuesday and say, hey, what's your strategy? How can I help you? Right? You're going to call everyone on Friday and say, you ready? What can I do? Right? I mean, we can talk through how specifics on how to lay all that stuff out, Justin, if you want. But the point is you should be building this stuff with the detail that the next person whose job this is going to become can learn from it clearly.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, you guys have had other jobs, right? Was there an instruction manual of some sort? Was there a operations manual of some sort? That's just a system, right? Training videos. Okay, watch this video and learn about how we do culture at this organization. Watch this video and see how we deal with, you know, paid time off. Initial here that says you've done it. That's just a system. So they don't have to do it over and over and over and over again. You see what I'm saying? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I hope I went in the right direction, Ryan, and I probably should have asked this 10 minutes before the thing is going to be over, but was this kind of the direction you wanted me to go?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, part of it's going through, I think just each one, you know, and I think part of, I guess I struggle with, there's so many systems, like which system do I really start with? And you start working on one system and another system, and then you're never really get one system down.
Well,
You know, and I think that's the hard part. Sometimes it's just whatever comes up and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to learn this system this week because I need it.
Yeah, that's basically how it goes. And then if a new technology comes out or a technology switches or you switch a vendor for something, you just have to retouch up your system. So I'll give you an example. You should probably have an ongoing list of like things to do, basically, right? I need a pre-listing package. I need an open house, pre-open house strategy, right? And every week when you are kind of, it's like you're having the all staff meeting, if you will, right? And you get in the room alone and you say, all right, team, how we doing? We book any appointments this week, right? How well did we tend to our calendar? Are we ahead or behind our goals? What adjustments do we need to make this week in order to get back on track? Is there any specific projects that need attention this week? Is there any specific systems that need to be built or tweaked this week, right? And maybe you go to you know, a networking event and you say, hey, not been to a networking event before, so I should probably have a post networking event system, right? So if I come back home or come back to the office and I got 20 people's business cards, what do I do with them, right? Do I send them all handwritten notes? Do I send them all Starbucks cards? Do I invite them all for coffee so I can get to know them and their business privately, right? Do I, you know, do I put them in my database? If so, do they go on a smart plan of some sort, right? So you might say, well, I don't need that system, or I never even thought of that system until I'm like right there. And I say, oh, I don't really have a system for this. Let me jot some ideas down so we have a framework so this is duplicatable. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, so it is gonna feel like a never-ending list. I get it. You're building a big business. That's kind of par for the course, right? And by the way, like you have to give yourself some grace. Like you've been in the business like what, 3 months or something, 2 months, right? So you're not expected to have all this stuff in place. You just should have an intentionality around getting better and getting more organized every single day, right? And enough days of that in a row, and you look up and you're like, wow, this thing kind of looks like a business, right? So I got this database over here. I got leads coming over there. I got appointments, and this is how I track my time. I got money coming in. This is awesome. It's starting to look like a business. Who built this thing? You see what I'm saying? Does anyone feel like I left anything out of the lead generation discussion? And by the way, we can go into more detail at any time. We're going to be doing, I will not be doing this class next Wednesday, but it should be every other Wednesday beyond that. So no, we will not be hosting this class next Wednesday. Anybody have any specific questions on anything we reviewed or is unclear on anything I talked about? Did you all get something out of today? Right.
Yep.
Every time you leave a session, you should say to yourself, oh my gosh, that was really eye-opening. This business incorporates some ideas that I never maybe had even thought of. And gosh, is that something I really like doing? Let me do it. Right. And by the way, I'm not asking you to pick 3 strategies or 3 priorities that you don't think you would enjoy doing. Go do the things you think you'd enjoy doing. Right. So if you like to play golf, if you like to go to the country club, if you like to, go listen to live music, if you are really into exercise or whatever, you can get leads from those spots, but you better be systematic and intentional around it. Right. So somebody comes to me and they say, well, Bill, I don't want to do any cold calling. Say, hey, listen, I don't blame you. Okay. But let me ask you, the lead generation strategies that you have chosen to work on, how's that going? Are you on track? And they're like, no. Say, okay, well, perhaps you should either do more of that or switch it up, because whatever you're doing isn't working or isn't working enough, right? So I'm not telling you have to make cold calls, but I'm telling you, if you don't go on this number of appointments, you will not make this amount of money. And then you get to decide what you're going to do about that. You see what I'm saying? So basically, no one's saying like, I used to know this guy and he did commercial real estate. And I mean, he was a raging alcoholic, and this probably was, this worked for him. He just sat at the bar all day. And he had a really, really big business. Okay. But he just drank all day long and people would come and go and he knew everyone in town. You see what I'm saying? So if you like hanging out at the yoga studio, at least get intentional about getting into relationships with the other people that hang out there. Right? And just as a side note, what if you had 32 VIPs in your database and you spent a significant amount of time building 32 different relationships with your peers or friends or neighbors or whatever, and you supported their initiatives and their businesses, and you knew about their family, and you did surprises and delights and all that kind of stuff for them? What if they each sent you one connection or one introduction each year, which they probably would do more? That right there could be your lead generation strategy, right? What if you took each one of them out for, cocktail once a month or coffee once a month or lunch once a month, and really figured out how you can pour into them, and they sent you one opportunity the whole year? You would win. This would be your plan. You see what I'm saying? So as far as lead generation goes, it doesn't mean cold calling, at 7 a.m. It means any activity that you do that might create a real estate related conversation that then might create an opportunity for you to help one of your neighbors or friends or colleagues or whatever. Well, probably not colleagues for you guys, right? No one laughed at that. Man, come on. All right, thanks, Ryan. Okay, any last comments? Anything else you guys want to discuss? No? Lakira, did you get what you came here for? Oh, true.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So for the most part, yeah, I got some good tidbits. Unfortunately, my client in Morgan Standards kept calling throughout this call or this meeting. But yeah, I picked up a few nuggets.
Beautiful. So it was recorded. I will post this in our chat or on our YouTube. And I don't know anything about whoever was calling or how urgent it was, but just to, and I'm not calling you out on anything because I don't know, but we decide at every moment what the priority is. right? So when that person calls or emails or texts or whatever, you have to decide, am I willing to step away from what I'm being intentional about so that I can handle somebody else's thing? Or should I deal with that whenever my plan allows? You see what I'm saying?
So that's a great point that you brought up, and I guess you could kind of give me some advisement on that. Is the client, like addressing the client's needs more important, or the mortgage lender's needs more important?
I don't know. I'm not trying to sound sarcastic here, but is the closing like tomorrow? Or is the closing like 3
I'm
weeks away?
sorry, I couldn't hear anything. The phone was ringing again. Go ahead.
Oh, so I was saying it depends, right? Is the closing like in an hour? Is the closing tomorrow? Is the closing in 3 weeks? Right? Is this super time sensitive, or could it wait 10 minutes? You see what I'm saying?
No, no, we're just trying to help this young lady get pre-approved, and she's getting frustrated and ready to give up. So it's like she's not she's been pre-approved through one world, but not the other.
Well, you're an adult. It sounds like you made the right decision, right? This woman is on the brink. She's this is probably a pivotal moment for her. And so I agree, you probably should tend to that. But there's probably, for every one of those moments, there's probably at least 5 other situations that are not emergencies.
Okay.
Right. And sometimes we will prioritize other people's non-emergencies over our emergencies. And that makes no sense to me. Right. Let me give you a hint. If they emailed you, it's not an emergency.
Right.
Okay. If I have a message to get over to you and it's urgent, I'm not going to email you. I will call you or text you. That is a clue that it perhaps is more urgent. If it's email, they're basically just checking something off of their list. So it definitely should not become your priority. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I'm not saying be unresponsive. I'm just saying, if you don't have an active buyer or an active seller right now, you have an emergency, which is you're not sure when the next time you're going to get paid is. There's not much more an emergency than that. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay. But from what you just described, it sounds like you made the right choice. So you get to choose how you behave. But sometimes if we don't hear that message that way, we don't have any context. And we just naturally, get pulled in all directions because we don't know any better. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Listen, guys, I hope this was really helpful. I'm very gracious and lots of gratitude for you coming today. Again, this has been recorded, so I'll post it on YouTube. And if you have any ideas for systems that you'd like to go through in detail in the future, I'm more than happy to share everything I know. Okay?
Yes, thank you.
Back soon.
Thanks, Bill.
You're welcome.
Thank you.